Hello, this is Jeffery Kin, Executive Director of Sarasota Rising and the Living Arts Festival, and I'm here with Visit Sarasota's Behind the Masterpiece, where we delve into the lives, the sordid lives of so many of our area arts practitioners. And with me today is, I got to tell you, I love to Google my guests, the incomparable Troy Quinn, multi-talented Troy Quinn. What don't you do when it comes to music? Troy Quinn.
Well, I don't play all the instruments, but other than that, we do multitasking here, Jeffrey.
Well, you got to make a good buck. But for our listeners, you really are international, but you do spend time here with the Venice Symphony, correct?
Absolutely. Actually, I spend the majority of my time with the Venice Symphony very happily in the beautiful area of Sarasota County and Venice. I fell in love with it from the moment I auditioned 7 years ago, and during the season, I'm there about once a month. So we have an incredible 8 subscription concerts. We've got our holiday concerts. We have a patriotic concerts. This is my 7th year leading the symphony, Jeffrey, and it's really a crown jewel in our area. We're so fortunate because, as you know, there's such a cultural coast where we are, and so many orchestras, many arts groups, such high quality. And that's the case with the Venice Symphony. So I'm happy to be starting my 8th year coming up.
Nice. Well, you get a gold star for saying Cultural Coast, because that is Visit Sarasota's entire purpose for what we're really trying to do.
I mean, it's good. It's already inundated me.
It's perfect, right? And I got to actually hear some of your youth symphony at my closing event for the party. So we had a closing party at the circus for that we called, a celebration of youth.
Yes.
And we had members of the Venice Youth Symphony there playing along with a whole bunch of other people. And they actually called it the Sarasota Rising Orchestra, which I thought was just really kind of fascinating.
Yeah.
But you have not only do you have professionals that play with you, but you also have an education wing, obviously.
Yes, we do. We've got our education department. We've got our youth orchestra. That's multifaceted, and we're very proud of that. That's sort of a fairly new endeavor in the time I've been here. We've got our summer camp that's quite popular, from school-age kids to high school kids. They get to do everything from learn how to play the drums to playing ukuleles and also string instruments. We've got our main orchestra made up of wind instruments and the string groups. We're doing our children's concerts in February, of course, at VPAC at our home. So, youth education and music education is near and dear to my heart because I'm a product of that, as so many of us professional musicians are. Without that teaching and mentorship, we wouldn't be who we are today. So we're proud of the multifaceted sort of angles we're bringing to the Venice Symphony.
And you've got to do it. So how early was it when you got bitten by the music bug?
Yeah, I've been singing and playing piano and learning music by rote since I was 5. But I'm an interesting case, Jeffrey, because I didn't really even read music till later in my life and study it. I mean, I was actually supposed to go to school for meteorology, and
you would be a great weatherman.
Well, I thought. Thank you. I thought so, and so mentors. But apparently, I lacked the I lacked the love of it like I do for music. But I think it's ironic because that's communications. I was supposed to major in communication. I'm in the business of communication without making a sound. That's what conductors do. So it's loosely related still, and there's no other job in the world. Music is a part of my life. There's no other job in the world I would want to do. It's as important as the air I breathe. So it's not really a job to me.
Was there anyone special as you were coming up through the ranks, however you want to call it, that literally helped cement your love for music? Because I know I had a professor or a teacher that, understood that I understand theater and had me read scripts instead of novels in English class. Did you have anybody in your world that kind of helped point you in the right direction?
Absolutely did. And it's ironic you're bringing this up now. Last month in November, we had a concert called Instrumental Influencers. So on that concert was Beethoven and Haydn and Brahms and people who were influenced by their predecessors. So they were asking me a similar question in this pre-concert talk. And for me, it was actually my college choral director, Michelle Holt, who is sadly not with us anymore. But she was the one that singled me out, recognized whatever little humble talent I had, and said, Troy, get up here and conduct this. And before you know it, I was singing, playing, and conducting Handel's Messiah, as my recital. So I think that's really the turning point in me. But as a 12-year-old boy, I must tell you, I went to the Hollywood Bowl, saw John Williams, of course, everybody's most influential composer. And my parents dragged me to the rehearsal. It was open rehearsals at that time in the summer. They don't do that anymore. But I saw this aged wisdom, just a visceral force of a man on the podium. And he started dun, 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 with the Hollywood Bowl Orchestra. And I thought, that is the coolest job in the world. But I had no idea what it took to do that. I was totally blind going in. But, that was my sort of pie in the sky dream influence. The practical influence was Dr. Holt for me.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I think everyone has a couple of those people in their lives, and I'm very proud of you for just saying their names out loud, because that just I truly believe that right now they are loving you and giving you lauds and attention from above. They have the best seat in the house for all these things that you're doing.
They them with me every time I'm on the podium.
So you do, obviously you're a performer and a conductor and a musician. How do you, what order, because, we used to be like, I'm an actor, singer, dancer. And then I became an actor, dancer, singer. And then, so what are you? How do you do it?
Well, I'm mainly a conductor now, Jeffrey, although I started my musical career, really my parallel career, as a vocalist. I have a degree in opera, actually, from Manhattan School of Music. And then I went to do my doctorate in conducting at USC out in Los Angeles, where I am now, where I'm also on the faculty teaching. So full circle moment for me. But I started as a singer, pianist, and then I got into the studios and singing background on movies and television, recording artists, before I got into conducting, really. And so that had been my first early love. But like so many people who do conducting, including, all the greats, Bernstein and Stravinsky, they had mastered an instrument beforehand. I wouldn't say I mastered it, but I certainly was a professional singer. And so that sort of led me, instead of a professional violinist or cellist or pianist, which are most conductors, I had the unique path of going into the orchestral world from the vocal world, and learning that in the second half of my career. So I sort of took an unorthodox path, and also genre-wise, because I work a lot in the studios and I'm a classically trained musician, but I do a lot of popular film and television and guest artists. So it runs the gamut. But, to me, we, especially at the Venice Symphony, it's not, this type of music or this type of music. We only play the good music. Luke Ellington said that, the good kind. So that's been my philosophy on music. And that's why I work a lot, because I think, I love, making music at the highest level. And I'm indiscriminate about the genre.
I love it. So I did see Glee on your resume. Was that what was your
Yeah. Well, if you look really in the background, I was I don't even remember what they call it. Was it a warbler? Those guys in the jackets singing and dancing around. But I first got involved with that doing, that was a huge show at the time for the vocal world. So I was in one of the regional choirs, and then moved up the ladder to one of the background warblers, I guess. But, very interesting, because a lot of those shows, here we go, Hollywood spoiler alert, they don't like to do things live. Of course, everything's a pre-record or lip sync. So,
right.
We're always fighting that. But in the case of Glee, they actually get the real singers to actually perform it and lip sync to their own voices, which is how it should be done, at least, at the very least. So that was fun.
there's always something interesting about when you read someone's bio and all the great things. And you had, so the one thing, so I stalked you on Facebook, and so there was 3 movies that you checked in on.
Yeah.
And all of them were Star Wars. So musically, was that musically speaking, or are you just a sci-fi nerd like I am?
Sci-fi nerd, absolutely.
Okay, good.
Star Wars, and actually Indiana Jones was one of my favorites growing up. And so having a chance to perform on some of these scores that weren't Star Wars, that were other John Williams hits, or John Powell, The Call of the Wild, I did too, which was so fun to be in the studio with these people, that you look up to and grow up with the music. I never get tired of performing that music. And of course, I've seen John multiple times at the Hollywood Bowl over the years with 18,000 people. I've seen him, of course, in Symphony Hall in Boston. And it's just it's a force, because it's bringing people to orchestral music and to classical music. What a great vehicle to do that.
So this is actually something I'm like, how do I say this delicately? So like just so you know, I don't say anything delicately. So I noticed that a lot of orchestras are doing literally those movie scores or bugs like the cartoons, because for a lot of people, they don't realize, that Kilda Wabbit was Wagner, so so there's all these folks that they love it when they watch it on TV. How do you get them to come see a live performance? I mean, I think there's a disconnect there somewhere. And I wonder why that is, because you would think that one thing would lead right into another.
Well, you're exactly right. And, I'm a product of watching the Boston Pops growing up with John Williams and Arthur Fiedler, watching the Hollywood Bowl. And so it's nothing new that I developed, but I think we at the Venice Symphony and all my other orchestras have the courage to what I call program hybrid programs. And in other words, why not put a Johnny Williams, as he was known in the early days, or a Danny Elfman score with Beethoven? We did a concert, Bohemian Beethoven. We put Bohemian Rhapsody, an orchestral version of Queen with viola solo with Beethoven 5. A lot of the people of my parents' generation and older and some younger came for Bohemian Rhapsody, but they heard Beethoven 5 for the first time. And I'm convinced everybody loves classical music. They just don't know it yet. So this is a gateway into programming. And that's why the Boston Pops has been so, I think, influential, at least in my upbringing and programming, because Fiedler and John Williams, they played light classics. They played film music, and that can lead people into listening to the heavier stuff. But I like to program it all on one concert,
Right.
And that's been the key to our success in Venice. I mean, we're in an enviable position for most orchestras across the country, where we sell out, 98% of the season. So adding concerts, and I think a lot of it has to do, Jeffrey, with the program. Because people want to hear things they know and are familiar with, but there has always been a stigma about how accessible classical music is. And guess what? If classical music didn't exist, you wouldn't have any of this TV, Bugs Bunny, Star Wars. You wouldn't have any of it. So I think it's important to recognize where the origins come from and make those connections, and not separate the two between classical and pop. I don't even talk in those terms, And so,
really?
I think we just play music that speaks to people. And I think most people will come to music as I did. They weren't trained since they were 5 years old and play.
Right.
They are just what I call the musical novice that's out there that wants to be moved for 2 hours and in the concert hall. And we're not saving lives, but we may, heal people through this soulful type of music. And I think the only way to experience that is to have a commonality, to bring them into the concert hall, to expose them to this. Because that's what happened with me. I heard Beethoven and Brahms once I, got introduced to Star Wars and John Williams. And then that blew my mind, because this was like, the Mecca. And I think that's how most people will come to it.
Yeah, I think the arts just do a lot more for people than they really truly know. And sometimes that's good because you don't want people to feel like they're being educated. But at the same time, it really is. This is something that the arts, without the arts, our world would be such a dismal place. There's just without that music and I think we take a lot for granted. There's when it comes to musicianship and where we get our inspiration from, and I think a lot of people are, the music touches their heart, it touches their brain, it uses all of your senses. You get all of this great feeling just from listening to, a piece of music.
Absolutely. And musicians and artists have always been defending why the arts are important, why they do what they do matters to the community. And my best defense or argument is come see a concert, go to a concert, go experience it. And a lot of the times it's this indescribable sort of feeling that you get. And while it's not necessarily scientific, although USC is doing some great research with the neuroscience program about music and how it affects your brain with the Brain Creativity Center. So we may get some more science on this fact. But at least in a subconscious way, I think that's the best defense of why the arts are necessary. What if you go experience that and see how you feel? And I think I always, talk to people after the concert, which is unusual. Most of the time, the conductor's changed in the dressing room, gone.
And they bolt. Yes.
I like to get a pulse on things, and that's actually the greatest, I think, feeling, at least for me, in response, because you can see people are on a high, and how music can transform individuals, and I think that's the greatest thing about humanity. We have the power to do that without even speaking. What a refreshing thing that is,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, everyone knows how to talk, but most people don't know how to listen. So maybe that's why we need more people to sit in a concert hall. I'm completely unprepared to this, but I hope you know who I'm talking about. So on Instagram, there was a conductor doing the dance from West Side Story. And the people in his audience were standing up and they were doing the claps, and they were like, he was completely engaging this audience in a way that I've never really seen before. Because usually people are sitting there, they're very polite, and they applaud. These people were doing the rumble, and literally this section of the audience stood up, and they were like the sharks, and the other ones. It was really kind of fascinating the way he kind of. Do you have any idea who I'm talking about?
I think that might have been Gustavo Dudamel.
Yes.
Yeah. It was, yeah.
He had curly black hair, and he was just he was fascinating to watch.
He's one of my great mentors. I love everything he does. He's, of course, here in Los Angeles with the Philharmonic. He's been the music director, I think, for the last 16 years or so. He's moving to be the New York Philharmonic conductor. But, I get a lot of inspiration from people like that. Bernstein certainly was the originator of that, where the boundary is gone, Jeffrey. There is no longer that wall up, and I know in theater we're never supposed to break that wall, but in music, I try to break that all the time, with the formalities of we can't clap between movements, or we have to sit there politely, Mm-hmm. Again, doing all types of genres. I just did a concert with Nas the rapper. There were no, concert etiquette issues there, and that's great. There was an orchestra in a different setting. People had never heard an orchestra. Some of those people before. So I think that it's never a bad thing to connect with your audience. And so, even I get a lot of feedback about I talk a lot during pieces, even before the symphony, before the long projects and the long movements, and people enjoy that. And it's not a lecture where we're going to be theoretical now, because nobody wants to hear that, or no matter how well-versed I am in secondary dominance and Schenkerian analysis, the audience doesn't want to hear that. I think you can educate them in a way that folks can understand, but also here's the beauty. You don't need to understand it to feel it. So
Right.
You get a great
Yeah.
appreciation by understanding it, but that's been my philosophy, and really to let the music move through me. Dudamel, there's no better example than that. He is the music, and that's the reason why I don't use the music a lot, because I want to let it flow through me and really know it.
It's interesting. So when I went to Spoleto for the first time, all my friends were like, Bruce was like, you have to go to the chamber music.
Right.
And I was like, ooh, that's not really me. But I went, and the gentleman who I believe he was recently passed was known for being there, and he did the exact same thing that you did. So he basically said, okay, so now this next piece, you're going to hear this.
Sure.
And now what they're trying to do is to get this member of the orchestra to follow them, but notice that they don't. And then you see, so he kind of walked us through it. And I found it fascinating. And then I'm sitting there going, oh, there it is. Oh, there's that. Oh, there. Oh, no. And right. Oh my God, he was right. It engaged me in a way that I'd not been engaged. I ended up loving that chamber music experience. And I didn't know if I would, because of him just explaining, this is kind of what you're going to hear.
Well, and it makes it more human, and you've got a greater appreciation of it, rather than, I think, music, especially classical music and what we'll call highbrow art, can be intimidating. And that's the opposite, actually, of where we want to come from. This is accessible for everybody, no matter race, creed, religion. This is every person's art form.
Yeah. And it's almost like how Shakespeare now is considered highbrow, but when it was originally written, it was for the common denominator. It was for the common people. They had the best seats, And so, yeah, we've lost a little bit of that. So you have at Venice Symphony a holiday concert on the 20th of December.
Yes, we do. We've got actually 4 holiday concerts, believe it or not, Jeffrey. 1 on the 20th, 2 on the 21st, and 1 on Sunday the 22nd. We've had to add a 4th concert. They've just been so popular. It's one of my favorite concerts. I call it a show because it is kind of a spectacle in a great way every year. And this year is no exception. We've got Grammy and Tony-nominated, Emmy Award winning as well, singer Liz Callaway is going to be joining us.
I know Liz Callaway. Oh, yeah, she was down for the music series, and when of course I did Danny and Baby back in college. So she's amazing.
Yeah, I have not worked with her yet previously, but I'm looking forward to it. I was looking for pieces that were known, are known to her, and she originated, of course, the role of Anastasia in the animated film, and she'll be reprising her hit there, Once Upon a December. And she's doing some other holiday pieces. My Grown Up Christmas List, that's a David Foster tune.
Yeah.
And Journey to the Past, also from Anastasia. So that's going to be great. And then we're featuring, of course, the Key Chorale under the direction of Joseph Calkins, and some of our own musicians. Our concertmaster, Marcus Rotzenbeck, is going to be performing an incredible electric violin solo called Miraculum. Yeah, a la Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Right. A
lot of bells and whistles. Santa's going to be there. May even snow in Florida. You don't see that every day. So,
well, ho ho ho.
Yeah.
So are you conducting? Have you limited yourself, or are you going to perform a little bit?
Oh yes, no, I am conducting on that one. I won't be turning around and singing or tap dancing.
Oh, come on.
Maybe.
Well, come on.
See, you have to come and see what this.
Yes.
But I have my hands full, Jeffrey, just conducting. It's always a great program, but it's full. There's a lot of elements to it. Utilizing video as well in the concert. So that's exciting. And it's a great event for the family. And it's a great event for an introduction to people who haven't been to the orchestra. That is the concert I would bring everybody to.
Yeah, well, and I completely understand, being an actor and a director and a producer, that you're using 3 different parts of your brain. And that is a challenge to flip back and forth. So so even you have to be focused and be in a zone.
Yes,
really?
Have to be in the zone. But I'll tell you, we do have a concert coming up where I'm going to be doubling, conducting, and singing. We're not even telling anybody exactly what that concert is. So now you'll just have to come to all of them and see.
that makes absolute sense.
Yeah.
Why would we not do that? Absolutely. I'm sold. And really, I think one of the things that my organization is trying to do is to help with that flow of traffic for the Cultural Coast, is to help the people in Bradenton realize that Venice is not that far away.
You don't have to go too far to experience really a world-class group right in your backyard.
And that is so important for our listeners to know, because again, we take so much for granted in this world. And, we've got to appreciate, especially the people that are close to us, and realize that 501c3s, they need your ticket sales. They also need your end of year donations, but, they thrive off of ticket sales, and that helps them with grants, making sure that they're appealing to a large variety of people. So, I kind of like to say, put down the remote and go see something live. It really does make a big difference.
It does. It makes a huge impact for our community. And of course, we've been hit by the hurricane recently. So now more than ever, I think we need arts as a community to heal. And particularly, I think the support we have and the support in Sarasota County, is kind of unheard of. I go to a lot of different places across the country, and it's all not like this. So we are very lucky, and I think we have to just be reminded that this is such a huge part of our culture, just like sports is elsewhere.
Right?
Which is a great plug for our next concert in January, Sports Orchestra. Yeah. Come check that out. That'll be interesting.
So literally, I have thought before, why can't theater and music people be as enamored with this genre as sports people? That people dress up like their favorite characters, and you know what I mean? Like, I want that kind of energy for the arts.
Yeah, we're getting there. And it's funny that doesn't exist a lot in crossover. Of course, there's marching bands and that sort of thing in sports, but I thought it would be a great program to do the kind of classical music, which there are quite a few pieces of regarding sports, thematic, versions of that,
right?
And bringing together the love of music and the atmosphere of that. That's exactly the atmosphere we're looking for, And I think you feel that at a concert. At least I hope that's the case with us and the Venice Symphony. That's the difference.
I love it. Well, we're so blessed to have you in our region. And of course, I could probably talk to you for another half hour at least, but we're not allowed to. This is all you get. So if you want to know more about Troy, Google him, because boy, you've got a resume there, sir. Wow, it's impressive. So
I may look young, but I've been around for a while. So
we love it. We're going to age you quickly.
Yes.
Thanks so much for being here, Troy. And thank you all for listening. This has been Jeffery Kin with Visit Sarasota's Behind the Masterpiece. We love our conversations with our arts practitioners, and we appreciate you listening and watching. So take good care, and thanks again for watching. Thanks for being in our audience. I'm Jeffery Kin, Sarasota Rising Living Arts Festival. If you'd like more information about the incredible work that Visit Sarasota does, please visit them at visitsarasota.com. Thanks so much for being a part of our audience.